Well, via Lech, we're here. Rebecca, I haven't seen you in forever.
No, I know. I would come back from the dead.
Rebecca had bronchitis last week, and I missed you, sis. I missed you.
I know. I was there. I wasn't camera ready.
She
I
was
was,
here. I saw your little face. You were there with camera off, coughing, and I'm glad you're better. I'm glad that we've been praying for you, and yay, everybody's good in your family.
yeah, everybody's a lot better. Thank God.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we were talking about it before we hit the record button. We were talking about the fact that this is the last one because really we have a little tiny bit left, but this is with some final words, some final things we'll go through next week. But this is the pretty meaty part of it is and I know in my Bible, this is my last week of you being able to use this one. It says, if for those of you who don't know, the Father's making me use a new Bible because I have too many notes in here and he's asking me to climb up to Mount Sinai and get the word directly from him and not use my old notes. So, and it's interesting. I look back, Rebecca, and this is, it was 2015. So I'll be October 2015. So I'll be starting an 8th year of, I've had this for 7 years. So October 15th, I will start a new Bible, which will be a new beginning and an 8th year. I mean, if you guys are into that kind of stuff, I sometimes am. So
Yeah.
I think everything means something, right? So we
Well,
have so many exciting things happen. For those of you, I'm not sure if you did anything this past week. For those for in the Ruta Cafe, we use the Hillel calendar. So we just finished out the Yom Teruah, Rosh Hashanah, whatever you're calling. I know I got confused early on. Why do we have all these different names? So we just got through that. What did you do anything special, Rebecca?
my congregation went out to dinner
Oh,
together.
nice.
Pretty, it was nice. It was a beautiful evening. I don't know about other people, but it's about 50, 60 here now, which for me is like, oh, perfect.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
time just being together. We played the shofar there, because that's the one thing that it tells us that we have to do, right, to hear the shofar. And then we just had a time of communion and fellowship. It was wonderful. We had a
Oh, I
great time.
love that. That's awesome. I'd love to hear from all of you that are on Facebook or if you're over here on Zoom in the chat. We'll do my 1, 2, 3 and text what you did. So ready? Are you guys get ready? Ready to type it all? 1, 2, 3, go. I want you to write in there. What did you do during, if you celebrated, how did you celebrate? Did you celebrate with family? Just a quick note in there for everyone in the chat to get you excited, I did the crazy thing, which I've shared all along this journey. I have never really done anything with other people on these holidays. It's been a very intimate thing with my family. So this year, again, I'll share again. My husband and I were out on a drive one day and we saw this really beautiful lake and they had this really big pavilion. And we were like, wouldn't this would be kind of cool if to do like maybe some Shabbat gatherings, some people coming in from all different directions. That would be really kind of fun. We should maybe let's do this sometime. I'm like, I have to stop saying sometime. Let's do it now. So I literally went back. It was actually a Shabbat. We do a little drive sometimes on Shabbat. And we got home the next day morning. I went in, I reserved it, and then I put it out on it's Arkansas Messianic group or something. It's for the whole state of Arkansas. I said, hey, anyone in Northwest Arkansas, we're going to be at this location for Rom Tour. We're going to have the barbecue hot. And I know there's going to be some people freaking out about lighting a fire. We did a lot of prayer about it, my husband and I, and he was like, I'm not going to go into that today. I'm just going to say we felt released. We were cool. We're not that religious, but we, if you are, and you have felt a conviction about that, I mean, bless you. If you, I have had people try to argue with me about it, and I will say, that it is a heart matter and it is also about there was a lot of work that went into building a fire back in the day and we lit a match and also if you look at the Orthodox Jews, they light actually candles each night, and so the second night would actually be a violation if you're going to get all technical. So let's just stop it. So I said the barbecue is going to be hot. Bring what you want to barbecue and a side dish to share, a dessert or snacks or whatever. We were going to be there around 1 o'clock and stay till 7:38. There was a big playground. We had 25 people show up, Rebecca.
That's wonderful.
25 people showed up.
Yeah.
People that some I have, you know them because maybe online, but some of them I had never met them before. It was a brand new meeting people. It was really fun. And people coming in saying, I'm alone. I didn't have any fellowship. I didn't know anyone else. And sometimes it might just be you. You might be the one who needs to start it. And I literally didn't make a big deal about it. I didn't over plan it. We literally just we brought the barbecue and we brought our stuff for our family and brought stuff to share, a few things to share, and it wasn't expensive. It was easy. If you did something like that, you could even put a little can out to donate to help pay for the pavilion. I think it was $75. We just paid for it, considered it like one of our tithes or offerings for the holidays. But you could do that and invite people to come. And so that leads me right into, Rebecca, we have a sister finder, right? If you just have to go to the rootedcafe.com, up at the top, it says sister finder. And I'm actually going to do it for you guys while we're just doing it, because I like how my husband's calling me while knows I've been doing this for 8 years. Okay, nice. All right. Um, let's go on here. therootedcafe.com. If you go to our main page, now if you go through this, is going to tell you about how you can sign up for our 7-day free trial, talks about all of our instructors, which I need to update, all the information. It tells you about a little sampling. You can check out a few of our classes, because a lot of people don't even know what we do, but watch your eyes. Here we go to the top. If you go across the top, we have an amazing blog. You could click on that. I just will. And you can see we have such great blogs that are written by all of our different ladies. They're so good. Those are shareable. You can go in there and read them, share them with your friends. These are where we have lots of resources, a lot of free things in there too. The portion with the ladies who in here, if you want to see you want to listen to the week. This is the weekly. Remember, we tell you, Misty does such a great job. We have ladies who actually reading the week, reading it to you. Isn't that cool? So you can just go in there and listen to it for those of you who don't do that or didn't know that was there. And then I'll get it back. And then events, you can always look at our events calendar and you can see this is past, but for those of you who did not go to that prayer conference, you can still get that video package. It's a really small fee. And then, but if you scroll down, you can kind of see what's coming up, what we're doing. Okay, along with links to here. And then, ta-da, the Sister Finder. You can jump on the Sister Finder. If you click on the Sister Finder, and if you're not on the map, you put yourself on the map just by putting your name, your city, your state, and then your email address. It's really important that you put your email address on there, because the point of being on the Sister Finder is for sisters to find you and be able to actually find you and reach out to you. We didn't put your phone number. We didn't put your street address because for safety reasons, but let's see if I can do this easy. So if you look, I'm going to look, we've done this before, huh? Rebecca, you can look at kind of close to where you are, and you can go and see like, where are all the people who live near me? And you can click on it and it says, oh, Nancy Victor lives in Riverhead. And you could email her. Yvette Velez lives in the Bronx. Oh, Wanda. Yay, you two met up for dinner one time. Gladys. Are these people all you know? Rebecca, there you are. And Heather. Rebecca, do you not have your email in there? Are you fired already? Oh, you
But
are. Okay.
I do, but I have to change that. Yeah.
But you can look around. Do you guys see this where you can look around? So you go find out where you live. I live in Northwest Arkansas. So see, I would go into Northwest Arkansas. I live right here. There's me probably. Yay, that's me. So there's me. But I can go through and see all these people that live near me and within a couple hours of me. And you can say, hey, you know what? I know that Ozark is like 2 hours away. So we might meet in Fayetteville or at Fayetteville and meet halfway for lunch or something. Do you guys get that? So go in there and do that and then invite each other to meet up. And we have women, and there are women in I know we have women in in South America, so we have to get them on there. But you can look all over the world and make sure you get yourself in there. And that's that.
That's wonderful.
I love that part. I think that's our fit. We put a lot of work on that. Crystal does a lot of work making sure that's taken care of. Tiffany Pena is did our IT on all of that, got it all set up for us, and it's such a blessing. So just yay.
Just do it.
Let's do it. Oh, you know what's really good on there? I forgot to show while I was in there is when you're in there, and if you go into resources, let me share my tab one more time. I really promise we're going to get to a study, everybody. Hold your horses. All right. So if you go back on here and you do go back to our website and you go in our store, One of the really cool things that's in our store, hopefully I can find it. Should have known what I was doing ahead of time, is our clean eating, our biblical cookbook. We have this, it's biblically clean. It's also healthy, clean. We try to make sure, I know Jen did a really great job on this and putting it together. We sold out of the cookbooks, but you can download the PDF version of it. It's only $5. Go in there and grab that, everybody. Grab one, download it. There are such great recipes for Sukkot coming up, fun stuff to do camping, or if you're going to do it at home. Really great recipe. I was going to say fun Yom Kippur, but I'm like, wait, we don't eat that day. So there's no, that's why you love me today, Rebecca. Yeah, so go grab a cookbook. I'm telling you, everyone is loving them so much, so much, so much. So anyways, we're in a new year. I haven't 5783. Do you feel older?
For a myriad of reasons, yes.
And wiser? How about wiser?
There you go. I'll take that. Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. You know, we're continuing this parsha as we come into it. We're continuing this parsha basically where we left off, right? Did you have anything that was like jumped out at you that you're like, okay, we got to talk about this? Violet.
Yeah. I did it a little bit differently this time around when I was, and I went into some of the supplementary readings in the prophets
Ooh,
to,
okay.
to kind of tie it in, because it helps to kind of give you, and it was almost like looking at two sides of the same coin.
Oh, okay. Bring it.
So it was interesting because it's an interesting read, because God is in essence telling Moses, listen, your time is, we've come to the end of the road. Let's get things ready bring Joshua in, let's get ready to do this. And then he goes in and he tells them, because look, these people, they're gonna just stray, as soon as you're gone, don't worry about it. It's almost like an inevitable. They're gonna do it the wrong way.
It's kind of like having kids, right? This is going to happen.
And then it's interesting. And then you see Moses come in and he's talking to the people, it's like those last kind of words that he wants to tell the people and everything. And then all of a sudden he's like, I haven't even died yet. And you guys have already kind of.
Right. God help all of us.
And then, and it sees how, and it shows how God said, Moses, he writes down the Torah and he says, listen, during this time, and it's literally during this time, this feast time that we're in now, in the false feast, he's like, I'm writing out the Torah for you, read it to your men, to your women, even to your little children, to everybody, so that your kids who have not experienced this will not be able to use that as an excuse. They'll know so that they can continue to walk and get the benefits of knowing and of maintaining a relationship with God, right? And then when you read the supplementary readings, you see what happens on the other side when they've already gone through the exile and they have been kind of torn away from everything because, like God said, they're going to stray. It was like the body's not even cold yet. He hasn't even died yet. He started messing up. And then when you read the prophets, you're seeing the result of all this stuff that God said was going to happen. And it's so interesting to see that, because it reminded me of when God talks to Abraham and he gives him the promise. And he says, I'm going to do this, but you know what? They're going to be in bondage for like 400 years and they're going to suffer all this stuff. And he's like telling him ahead of time, preempting.
Do you remember someone else being told that was going to happen? And then, oh, wait, they went to Egypt and oh, wait, they were going to, didn't he do that to Abraham? Didn't he say, I'm going to give this to your people, but you will be in bondage?
Yeah. And he's telling him, so it made me think of that. Like when I was thinking how it's so interesting. You get these like glimpses and like peeks into what God's thinking and his way of thinking, where he's like letting you know, if you have ears to hear and you shema, like you really like shema, you hear, you listen, you obey to what I'm saying, then you're going to see that if you don't adhere to this, if you don't keep this right here, if you're not intentional, it's going to not go well with you, And so I was just sitting in that, and so one of the supplementary readings is found in the book of Hosea, chapter 14. And it talks about how, and it's weird because depending on the version that you read in the Bible, it's really chapter 13, verse 16, and not chapter 14, verse 1, but it talks about Samaria. And that's,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah. And it says Samaria will bear her guilt. But if you look at other ones, it doesn't say that. It starts with actually verse 2. So I was like, so when I started reading, I'm like, hold on. And I'm like jumping back and forth to kind of check it out and see, you know. And it made me think of my mind was jumping all over the place because we were just I don't know if I mentioned it before, but my home church, we're going through the book of Acts right now.
Okay.
And we just went through in the past couple of weeks, we went through the martyrdom of Stephen, the first martyr, and how and what he goes through. And what we discovered when we were studying it, what I discovered because I had that chapter, was that one of the reasons why they came against him so fiercely was because when he begins to speak, he says things in the version of the scriptures that he had, which was the Samaritan version, and it's different than the Orthodox version. And so when they hear that, it didn't even matter what he said. When they hear that, they immediately know kind of what band he's coming from. And it makes them get so riled up when it says that they gnash their teeth and they get so angry at him. So when I saw Samaria will bear her guilt for she has rebelled against the Lord, it made me think about how all this time has passed. And when you're reading in the prophets, all this time has passed, and how the 10 tribes, they kind of made their stomping grounds in the north with Samaria and how far they strayed. It was just looking at how quickly things kind of get out of hand. And God is letting you know from the get-go, you have to stay close to this. You have to read this when you're doing and we think sometimes, or at least I won't put anybody else in this. I will just say myself. It can be boring sometimes when you hear, because we're not intentional. We're not when you do things by rote, when you're like, okay, this is another year, we're going to do this. Oh, I know what's happening because we do this every year. Oh, I know. If you're not intentional and you're not saying, God, what do you have for me now? What do you have? What can you say to me now that's going to help me in my life right now? This is not, you didn't institute this to just be something I just continually do, whatever, just to have something to do during this time of year. It's not that. God's word is a living thing. God's
Yeah.
it has power, and it has the power to change, and it has the power to heal, and it has so when we're looking at this, for God to say, it was almost like it almost made me sad when I read it, to say that God said from the get-go, they're gonna mess it up.
It's going to happen.
And it was, and to know that in spite of, when you read the prophets, it says that they messed it up, because we're on the other side of it, but God redeems that.
Yeah.
Even in spite of that, God redeems that. So when I was thinking about that, this past Wednesday when we were in Bible study, and they were started talking about the feast, because we were doing Yom Teruah, I was, we're going through all that. And I'm thinking, while everybody's talking, I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing this? And I had to remind myself, why are you doing the feast? Like, what's the importance of it? And it wasn't because I was upset or because I was like, oh, this is so, whatever. But I was trying to remind myself, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
The importance of it. And immediately my mind went, Genesis. Everything that we do, everything that's in scripture, everything that God does with the feast, it's to restore that original relationship that he had with man that was broken.
Mm.
Everything that he does is to bring us back to that, because he desires us to be with him and to have that intimate relationship where we don't even notice that we're naked, because we're not even paying attention to any of that. We're so into him that it's not even important, So yeah, that was like my bomb for that was.
Oh, Rebecca, that's so good. And I love how you're saying that. Like, I was listening to you when you said that, it made you a little sad that you're thinking, oh, but I'm wondering if we would consider that maybe he's doing it from the 30,000 foot, 30 million foot view, or whatever it is, or as high as a dove can fly, if you ask Halisa. He's looking from this view saying, okay, I already know this is going to happen, but I already have a redemption plan. It's kind of like back in the garden. I already know this is going to happen. Okay, Abraham, here's what's going to happen. I already know this is going to happen, but I already have a plan. Oh, wait, because I know the plans I have for you. And then I know this is going to happen, and we have a plan. I know Babylon's going to happen. But I'm going to let Babylon happen, and I'm going to let you miss the mark so much and get off into the woods and into the bumpy thorns and get all deep in the forest. I'm going to let you do that because I want you to be so hungry for me that now you're going to set up ways that you'll not you'll not depart from it. So that's why we have these Torah portions now. Is because of Babylon. Babylon wasn't all a bad thing. Babylon brought out a hunger and a desire. It brought in these schools for the children that they were going to, okay, we're going to start the school now. When they're little, at this age to this age, they're going to learn this. From this to this, they're going to learn this. And then they're going to go to this. They set up a school system so that they would never forget Torah again, because they knew that the reason that they were in Babylon was because they had let go of his commandments. They had let go. So they put schooling in place. Now has man got a hold of something, turned it into religion, made it not about the heart? Of course, because that's what we do.
Yeah, that's just part of
We do. You do it. I do it. Everyone, we do it. We turn,
the
because
best
if
of
we all
intentions.
do it, it's our nature.
It's the and 9 times out of 10 it's with the best of intentions. It's not from a bad place.
Right? No, no. If even we see the Pharisees, right? It was from a good intention. Paul running around killing everybody was from he truly was passionate that he was trying to guard and protect the Torah.
Mhm.
And people who were speaking, calling him another Messiah and doing all these other things, he was really he had good intentions. So yeah. So yeah. And I think that when our heart is like that, that's when he can tap us on those roads to Damascus and say, hey, I love what you're doing. I love the passion. I love what you're, but let's do it this way. Same
Mhm.
thing. You guys are going the wrong direction, so I'm going to let you go into Babylon. So you guys, I understand you're going to get fat. We see back here. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get in the land, and I think it's in verse in 31:20. For when I bring them to the land flowing with milk and honey that I swore to their fathers, and they eat and they're satisfied and they grow fat, then they're going to turn to other gods and they're going to serve them. So we see that living, most of the majority of the people, you saw the dots, we live in free countries.
Mhm.
We live in democratic countries. We have, most of us eat and get fat. Most of us have more than we need.
Mhm.
I lived in a tiny little trailer. I've lived in a 41-foot trailer. Now I live in a 2,000 square foot house. I know what I need because I've gone through the need test. And I have way more than I need.
Mhm.
And he knows the temptation of that. And can I tell you, when I moved here, Rebecca, when we moved into this house from moving in the trailer, we were in the RV traveling, I struggled. And for probably 8 weeks, I was crying out to God, please, please, God, don't let me be so tempted. I was so content with that little. I was so content in what I needed. I was so content in my little space and what we had. I was so content that the abundance freaked me out. And I don't mean necessarily financial abundance, but not having not having need be my driving force.
Mhm.
Like being in a place where now there was a little cushion, and I actually wasn't looking for the storm to hit. Oh, it's I'm waiting for the next wave to hit. It was a different kind of a abundance of time, of space. And I was not comfortable with it. I wasn't comfortable with it because not because of this verse, but then in rereading this verse, it's like, that was it. Father, I don't want to grow fat in my attitude.
Yeah.
And we all, I'm speaking to those of us, especially who live in America, we've grown fat in our attitudes. Well, I deserve this. I have a right. The Constitution says we've grown fat in what we think we deserve. I tell you, right, Becca, I never want to get what I deserve. I never, ever, ever want to get what I deserve.
Because we might be
Never. He saved me from that.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we get into that place.
I was talking to my mom about this portion, and she said, we were talking about the fact that it says, read it to your women, to your men, and to your women, and to your small children. And the first thing you think of is like, why? They're
Have
not
you
paying.
met my small children?
They're going to be disruptive. They're going to be, blah, blah. And she was telling me the story. There's so many of them, but one in particular was a friend of ours got pregnant and she had a high risk pregnancy. And the husband would sing and didn't have a particularly melodious voice, but he would sing to the baby constantly when she was in the womb. And when she was born, she started screaming, the normal, she's screaming when they pull her out and everything. And he came close to her and he started singing the song, and immediately she quieted down and she like was looking to see where that voice was. And my mom was saying, it's not so much about that they were going to remember about the words and the this and the do this and don't do, but it creates this connection of ideas, and in the subconscious of this connection of this need to be with God. And
Ooh.
fostering was this kind of it's another level, and
It's another level. It's my mom sat me in bed, and she would, I mean, we had the little I remember they were blue and they looked like encyclopedias, and they were all the Bible stories, and would read those to me every night.
and you remember it. It's like a core memory.
It's a core memory. And what I found is then you have these children who aren't being done, that hasn't happened. And I have asked children random, I'm going to give you guys homework this week. I want you to find at least one child and ask them the name of the person who was swallowed by a whale and see what you hear. I'm going to tell you 99.9% of the children I asked said Pinocchio.
And they're not wrong. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't know who he is. And I think I've shared with you guys, I think it was about this time last year when I was like talking to my granddaughter about something. It was the same thing. And I was like, oh, and you know who this is? She's like, no. And I'm like, it's Noah. And we were doing a puzzle. And I realized, because I hadn't been around them, to be able to do that very often other than FaceTiming with them, that's when it hit me hard. That's when I started writing Gracie books, was because someone has to tell my granddaughters about stories, because they need the baseline, so that when they come back through then and they're reading Torah, they're like, they know the base story.
Some context,
They
yeah.
know, they have context, because otherwise they don't even have context to go to the next level of it, right? And each year they grow in it. The other thing I'll share with you, I know actually Brenda is actually here at the house. I would tell her to get in here to tell the story, but she her grandchildren, she would be holding them and they'd be crying, and she would start singing in Hebrew over them. And it was just like I mean, it wasn't like anything, whatever. I can't even remember what she's saying over there. I think it might have been the Aaronic blessing. I don't know. But she was singing something simple that she just knew. And so she was just singing it, and it would quiet them. They'd be like, just hearing the Hebrew. I mean, there's a little secret part of me that thinks they're like, I remember that.
Oh, I would sing the erotic blessing to Isaac, and I would be laying in bed, and Isaac was the type of child, if he was sleeping, he needed to be next to me, and he needed either his nose was touching my nose, his hand was on my cheek, something had to be touching to know that I was there, and I would sing the erotic blessing to him, and he would just, I mean, it was like total concentration, total focus, and it would immediately quiet him down. Immediately. Yeah. And even now, like when we're in church service, he's going to be 21 in December. Excuse me. And when it's time to say the Aaronic blessing, because we do it at the end of the service, and we do it in English and Spanish. And immediately, as soon as I start to say it, I look, and he's looking for me, and he's mouthing it to me while I'm saying it, because he knows. And he'll even, if I'm far away, he'll hold his hand out like this to let me know that he's holding my hand or whatever. And at the end, and give you peace, that last word from when he was very little, I was saying, give you, and he would say peace. So when we're doing it, I'll say it and I'll stop, and he'll say, paz in Spanish, because we're doing it in Spanish now. So there's that connection. It's like a core memory, what we're talking about. It just sparks something in them that gets it going in their subconscious and in their, and it continues on. That's what we're fostering. You're not expecting them to know that they have to take and they have to sacrifice this way and bring this offering and do it.
They don't have to. No.
And I remember way back in the day, we used to have a yeshiva in our church. And so Saturdays we would go, and all day we'd have yeshiva. And one young woman would go, she was a single mom, and she had a little boy, and she would take him, and he would be playing with cards under the table and everything while we're, and one day one of the teachers was saying something, he asked the question, everybody stay quiet. And he yelled out the answer from under the table while he was playing with his cards. And everybody was like, he's actually paying attention. You know what I mean? Like
more is caught than taught.
Yeah, they soak it up.
They're
So
soaking it up. I know went to dinner for Wednesday night and my granddaughters were sitting on the table and I thought, it was homeschooling her and a lot of the time we were doing it through FaceTime, through Zoom, I mean, and it was like, oh, I thought she wasn't getting stuff. And then she actually went into, she's doing first grade now at actually a traditional school this year. And and I thought, oh, she's going to be behind. She's not going to get it. And many of you that are close to me, the panic I went through, like just freaking out. She's at the table and Brenda's like, what are you doing? She was like, I'm just writing stuff. And so she was, and I'm looking and she's writing things. It's like, and Brenda goes, she's looks so confident. She was listening. She got it. She's fine. They're getting it. They're getting it. So the little things you're speaking over them. And when I was sharing that about Brenda singing, so I didn't know anything to sing over Eliza, and she'd be crying or Maya when they were little. And I remember Brenda saying that. So when they're crying, I'm like hoping no one's listening. I'm all Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. I'm singing like the blessings over like bread over my granddaughter because I don't know any other word. I don't know anything else in Hebrew. All I knew was the little blessing the wine or blessing the bread and that's all I knew, but she would calm down. It was
yeah,
like it was she and I'm like, okay, so I just sing it over and over and over and it thought if anyone hears me, they're like, what do you do?
but God saw that
Yeah.
and he honored that, and that's what
Yeah.
matters.
I've never told anybody that before. Oh yeah, that was fun.
So I think that's such a little piece of this Torah portion, but it's so,
Mhm.
it, and I think it speaks to the fact that sometimes we think that it has to be big things that we do, but the little things that we do consistently have such an impact, and we don't realize that. It's hard for us to realize how powerful that can be, and it's
Yeah.
reminder for us to say, hey, keep it up.
Yeah.
Nice
Yep.
thing.
I think I was thinking about too when you're saying what wouldn't it be great is if what if we what if we started to sing the song of Moses over our children because he's saying that I'm going to give you I know this is going to happen. I know you're going to get fat in the land. I know the intentions that they're devising already. They haven't even got there and I know they're already and for those of you I do encourage you to go back and listen on Wednesday to the practical portion. It's on Facebook. It's in I don't know all different places. If you need to know, reach out, let me know if you need to find it. But I really feel like I had a really great download on this particular parsha that I hadn't noticed before, and I knew it was from God, but the other part, second part was about about he already knew they were coming. They haven't even I haven't like you said, the body's not even cold yet, and he already knew. I already know they're devising all these things. They haven't even gotten the land, and they're going. Okay, I'm gonna build this house. I mean, my husband and I, we're thinking right now, we're in the process of looking at land, looking at building a house. What do we want? So this is when you're dreaming, right? Of course they're dreaming. And I'm sure all their dreams aren't, how am I going to bless Adonai? When I come into the land, how will I bring forth the amazingness of Adonai? I'm sure they're going, I'm going to build a 2-story house, and then we'll put you next to me, and then we'll put the garden over here, and we're going to have goats, and we're going to have cattle. It's going to be amazing. What do you want to grow? Ooh, remember those grapes? Maybe we'll do grapes. Ooh, imagine what the wine's going to taste like.
Mhm.
He knows us. We're his children. Don't you know your kids? You're like, I already know my child what they're doing right now. I already know I know for my stinking dogs. If I just go grab their leash, they see me walking to get the leash, or they hear a bag rustle, I know what their behavior is going to be. So you don't think he knows ours.
Have you seen those videos where the mom will put like treats in front of the kid and says, "Don't touch it until I
Yeah.
come back with the camera there," and the kid's like, he's sitting there and he's like, you can
Oh,
see.
you can see the pain, the trend. You can see the processing. It's all happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but he says, so what I'm going to do to help you is I want you to put this song in their mouth. I want you to put this song because this song is going to help them. And I have never put that much of an emphasis on that, Rebecca. I haven't thought this is a song we need to memorize because it's saying that you're going to go into captivity. You're going to be crazy, but chazak, take heart, be courageous. This is what I'm thinking of right away. We hear this chazak, and I instantly have a hyperlink to Mary with Gabriel coming to her saying, "Don't fear." I think he said chazak to her. This is the plan. and I talked about this on Wednesday. I think he was reminded, he was telling her that this is there's an amazing thing, and we have, if you're in the Ruta Cafe, go in there and read the Parsha point from Gail. I read it the whole thing on Wednesday, that Gail talks about the suzerain and the Vassar and the way what was happening here and how it sets up for Messiah, how it's set up for him to come in as the heir, as for him to come in as the son. It was a beautiful setup here that's happening. All that is super cool. But he's saying in when that's happening, um, I'm gonna and the way he puts this Torah scroll, all that is so cool. And I don't think it's worth repeating, but not this year. Go back and watch it from Wednesday. It's been too soon. You can go watch that. But he's giving them a song, and the song is, I mean, can we just read it? Are you good with that? Let's read it. It says, "Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak." Oh, this is next week. We can't read it. You can read it next week. Should we do it anyway? Let's do it anyway. Huh? Who cares? We're the boss of us. "Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak. Let the earth hear the words of my mouth, and may my teachings trickle like rain, my heart's cry. May my speech distill like dew, like gentle rain on new grass, like showers on tender plants. For I will proclaim Adonai's name. Ascribe greatness to our God, the rock. Blameless is his work. Indeed, all his ways are just. God of faithfulness, without iniquity, righteous and upright is he. Did it corrupt him? No. The blemish is his children's, a generation crooked and twisted. Is this how you pay back Adonai? Oh, foolish, unwise people. Isn't he your father who ransomed you and made you and established you? Well, remember the days of an antiquity. Understand the years across generations. Ask your father, and he'll tell you, your elders, and they're going to say to you, when Elion gave nations their heritage, when he separated the sons of man, he set boundaries for the people by the number of Bnei Israel. But Adonai's portion in his people, Jacob, is the share of his inheritance. And he found him in the wilderness land, in the void of a howling waste. He surrounded him, he cared for him, he guarded him as the pupil of his eye. As an eagle stirs up its nest, hovers over its young, he spreads his wings, catches him, lifts him up on his pinions. Can't wait to talk about that next week. Adonai alone guided him. There was no foreign God with him. He made him mount the heights of the land, and he ate the produce of the field, and he suckled him with the honey from a rock, from the oil from a flinty boulder, butter of cattle and milk of the flock, and the fat of the lambs, rams of the Bashan, and the he goats, with fat of the kidneys of wheat, of the blood of grapes you drank. But Jeshurun grew fat and kicked and got fat, and he grew thick and he gorged. You gorged. He forsook God who made him, and he mocked the rock of his salvation. They made him, wait a minute, the rock of my salvation, isn't that just in the New Testament? Oh, wait, sorry, I digress. They made him jealous with strangers, with abominations, and they angered him, and they sacrificed to demons, a non-god gods, and they had not even known, to new ones who came in lately, ones your fathers had not even dreaded. The rock who birthed you, you ignored, and you forgot God who brought you forth. Adonai saw, and he spurred his sons and his daughters out of vexation, and he said, I will hide my face from them. I want to see I want to see their hereafter, for they are an upside down generation, children with no faithfulness in them. They made me jealous with a non-God, and they vexed me with an airy idols. So I will make them jealous with a non-people. With a foolish nation, I will vex them. For fire has ignited in my nostrils. It will burn to Sheol's beneath, devour the earth and her produce, and scorch the foundations of the mountains. I will heap calamities upon them. With my arrows I will finish them, wasted by famine, ravaged by plague, and pestilence so bitter. Fangs of beasts I will loose on them. With venom of creepers in the dust. Outside the sword deals death, and inside terror. To both young men and young women, infants and men of gray hair, I would have said, I will hack them to pieces, ugh, make them a memory, and cease for mankind, except I dread the taunt of the enemy, lest their foes might misconstrue, lest they say, our hand is held high, and Adonai has not done all this. For they are a nation lacking counsel among them. There is no understanding. If they were wise, they would discern this. They would understand their hereafter. How can one chase 1,000 and two 10,000 to fight, unless their rock has sold them and Adonai had handed them over? Surely their rock is not like our rock, as even our enemies judge, for their vine is from the vine of Sodom and the terrace of Gomorrah. Its grapes are grapes of poison, bitter clusters on it. Venom of serpents. Boy, this just gets more positive as we go. Venom of serpents is their wine. Poison of vipers so cruel. We're going to go through and I'm going to let you guys finish that out because I want to say on this is that it looks like it's going deeper and deeper into all that, but don't you do that with our children? We're like, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. And if you don't listen, then this is going to happen. And then if you don't listen, then this is going to happen. It's like, let me tell you the worst. And this is all, of course, in language that they're going to understand. You know, for us, it'd be like, I'm going to take your iPhone away.
Yeah.
I'm going to cause your banking system to falter.
Mm.
We were talking this morning and saying how my dad was in Vietnam and he was he was in dispersing. So he was also an accountant. And so he was the guy in Vietnam who jumped in the Jeep. He had a machine gunner in the thing with him and would go to all the posts and pay the guys. You know, and we were laughing. We're like, it's not like they didn't have direct deposit back then, you know. And I mean, they didn't have direct deposit. They didn't have Venmo. They didn't have, so my dad actually went out there with cash and he would have this box of cash or checks with him, but mostly he would cash their checks for them because they couldn't come in town to get their checks cashed. And then they would he would take their letters back and maybe sending them home. And he would do all that. He was that guy with people shooting at him as he's trying to get post to post, you know, doing all this. And I'm thinking, how spoiled are we now? The little things we forget, and we look on here, how fat have we gotten? And this is the perfect time of year as we head into as we're in these days of awe. This is the time for us to look around and just to look at what's next to us and say, what have I gotten fat? What have I become? What has become an idol, Father, in my life? The little wooden ones that are hidden, and what are the big gold and silver ones that are out, the big ones in my life? Yeah, I think there's a lot. Many of us probably have some hidden ones that we probably don't want to tell anyone about. It might be a television show. I don't know. It might be something that you just think you can't live without. It might be an addiction. Might be um it might be a substance that you can't get rid of. It might be caffeine. I mean, I laugh at all of us with our coffee. I mean, I have a shirt, you know, it says something like coffee, you know, it says coffee because murder is wrong. And we have our funnies about that. But the truth is it so much that, oh my gosh, if I don't have coffee, I have to have my coffee, but we haven't gone to the word. I'm not trying to bring condemnation. I'm just saying if that might be it for you. I don't know.
And the thing is that what I'm hearing is it's such a personal thing. It's so interesting how God is the God of the collective and yet God is the God of the individual.
Mhm.
And so when he's dealing with these things, he's dealing with Moses as the man, and he's dealing with Moses as a leader, as a part of this group of people. And you see God's heart there, where he's kind of setting him up and saying, listen, we're coming to the end of, he's kind of leading him to where he has to go.
Yeah.
At the same time, he's letting him know what's going to happen. In other words, it's like he's giving him the tips and saying, hey, do this to help them out. Let this be the last thing you do before you end off. Do this because they're going to need this down the road. Things are going to get pretty bad. And and I mean, scripture just tells us we don't have to kind of think too hard about what happens. Things do get bad. And the thing is that it continues, it perpetuates throughout the ages. And we find ourselves in the same place, and it's this constant renewing and constant it's being intentional and going back and saying, what's the point of doing all this?
I love that you said that. You said you sat there, why am I doing this? And it wasn't out of rebellion. It wasn't because you didn't want to do it. It was like, why am I doing? Because if you don't know, we'll say, oh, my apologetics. But if you don't know why you're doing it, then you're just a sheep being led by whoever's talking to you at the moment.
Mhm. And I said, oh, it's to go back. It's to get back there, you know? And
It's all to get back to the garden.
that get back there, it has to do with what I was saying about when you say it to the children and they don't understand it, it's a consciousness. It's a consciousness. It's something, it's that spark of divinity that comes from God that he places in us when he gives us a breath of life. It's that trying to go back there, like trying to reconnect with that, you know? And so I think that it was such an interesting portion to read because there's a lot going on, but there's these little kind of things that you can pick up on that let you know the heart of God and let you see and to see his mercy with us. To even
Right.
continue because he's saying, look, the body's not even cold yet and they're gonna screw it
I
up.
already know. You haven't even gotten there yet, and I already know. You haven't even gotten there yet. I already know what you're going to do. I'm going to let you go taking my kids to Disneyland. I already know which children are going to push me to buy, crying about everything they want me to buy for them in the stores. I already know which kids are going to do it. I already know ahead of time. I'm going to say, listen, you're not going to ask for anything. I bought you Disneyland stuff from the Dollar Tree. Now that's what you get. So going in, we are not spending money. We're going in, you're going to be happy riding the rides and you're going to like it. Spend this is what we're doing. You know, you have the kids, which kids you have to do that with. You have to tell them ahead of time because you already know they're going to show their tail. The minute they get in there, they're going to just act a fool. They're going to just run crazy.
I don't know if I've ever told you this story. I have a cousin and she has 4 girls now. She just had a surprise baby. She has 4 girls. And the second one, when she was very little, they start going to school, and then when it comes time for Halloween, they hear, oh, I'm gonna be a princess, I'm gonna be that, I'm gonna be, and so they're like, and so she's coming home, I want to be this, and mom's like, we don't do that in this house, we don't celebrate Halloween, we don't blah blah blah. And she turns around and she goes, well, you may not celebrate it, but I celebrate it, and I want. And she's like, kindergarten. You can't do it, but I do it. That's the joke of the family. Kid that's just gonna constantly, you know,
Yes. Yes. And I think that, I mean, just like you do with your kids, you already know it's going to happen. So you put together this redemption plan for them ahead of time. You also, but it doesn't mean you don't threaten them with an inch of their life. Even if you're just going to stinking Walmart, you have to be like, listen, we're going in and we're coming out. Listen, everybody, we are not going to ask for everything. There will be no fits. There will be no hitting your brothers. There will be no that you have to go through the list, right? I mean, Rebecca and I have heard this from our friends and family because we both have one child. And so, but we've heard this happens. This happens when I'm sure you've taken nieces and nephews in. You have to give those speech before you go in. That's kind of what's happening here. And he's saying, but I'm still going to prepare a way for you. And I'm going to be leaving, and we'll close this out with just knowing that Moses is leaving, trying to leave well here. He's trying to set up the next generation. He's trying to set up, but even though he's setting Joshua up as Joshua's now the representative, because remember, they wouldn't go up the mountain. They said, no, 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 no. They were invited to come up, and they said, no, 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 no. We don't, we need a representative. We need a go between. And so Moshe went up. Well, now he already knows they're not going to come to him one-on-one. They're going to need another go-between, a mediator. We need a mediator. So now that suzerain vassal, there has to be a representative because the king's not coming down. The king's son is not there yet. So in representation of the son, he's now, until the son comes or the heir comes down, that suzerain will send a representative. Now Joshua, Yehoshua, oh, it sounds like another name that's going to come along later. He's going to now be the mediator, and he's going to be the one taking him into battle. And I shared this in my talk earlier. God didn't even let me get out of the second verse when he says to go and come out. I had to sit into that, to go and to come out, to go and to come out. I'm like, okay, I don't know what you're trying to say to me. Lo'od yasa bo. I had to say it over and over. I had to look it up. I literally couldn't even go on. It was like, ugh, until I sat in it and he just showed me his redemption plan, showed me how he set he set Joshua up to then to be not just the military leader, but he was also the representative to the mediator. And then we see the same. That's why I believe that the angel Gabriel said chazak, to Mary when he came in, and she would have known also that she's bringing in the son. Now the air, the word become flesh, that word that was placed at the altar down there at the mercy seat, that word that was written out by Moshe has now become flesh. The heir is here. The kingdom is here. It was a big stinking deal that Yeshua showed up. Huge. Because no more was the mediator, was there having to be a different man being the mediator. He's now the mediator because he's the son. That's why he kept saying, whatever you hear me say is what I say. Whatever you see me do is what he does. I'm doing what my father says because I am the suzerain. I am the heir. There's no go between anymore. It's me. It was, yeah. Let you guys sit in that. Maybe go look all the words up. Yo'od Yasabo. Some of you are in that position where you're in a different place in your life, where you're crying out to God. Lo'od Yasabo. I am not able to come and go. Yasa is a come and go. It's a going in a battle format. It's going out to battle, kind of a. I'm not able to go fight anymore like I used to. I'm not able to go out and do the things I used to do. Lo'od. I'm not able to go fight or bow, come and go. I'm not able to do the things I used to do, but I'm not able to be the representative. And it's time now for me to start training someone else. Who are you training to take your place? Because again, that's one of the first things I ask when I go into a group, a leadership of fellowships or congregations or a company, and say, the first question I ask, I think I shared this before, I have them write on a piece of paper. Okay, the very first thing we do, write on a piece of paper, get your pen out. Who is taking your place? If you were leaving today, who would take your place? And if you don't know the answer to that, you have work to do. And that's what's happening now. I'm saying that now in your life, in your home, who's taking your place? Are you raising your children up to take your place? Will they be able to jump in and stand in there? Are there people in your ministry that you're training up? Are you so controlled and tight fist that you can't open up? We just did this in Psalms 119. We're in that place with a cuff that you can open your hands. Is it coming and going freely? Yasabo, are you coming and going free? Are you fighting with open hands? Are you able to just give it up and let him take it over? And I think that's what he's doing right now in this season. As we are going into Yom Kippur, as we go into this day where, for those of you who are new, this will be a time that we'll be talking to you next week after. This will be it's a day that you fast. As you can, technically, you're supposed to fast everything and fully deny your body everything, including water, if you can. But many of you are on medications. I know all the questions I'm going to get. Do what you can do, and he knows your heart.
You know what? If I could just say, when I was reading the additional scriptures that go with this, I came across Joel chapter 2, and it starts in verse 15. And when it starts in verse 15, it says, blow the shofar in Zion, sanctify a fast, proclaim an assembly, gather the people, sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders, gather the children, even those nursing at the breast. And it goes on, and it starts talking about, don't weep because they found themselves in exile, and all these things that have happened or whatever. But by the end of the scripture, when you read it, God talks about the restorative and the redemptive plan that he has, which is what I meant when I said, you seeing the both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Because he says, no longer will my people, never again will my people be shamed. You will know that I am within Israel. Yes, I am Adonai your God. There's no other. Never again will my people be shamed. It's this. It was when he was saying, I know what they're gonna do. I know what's up. But don't worry.
I got you.
Have courage, keep walking, keep moving. But when you keep moving, make sure you're bringing along everyone, including the ones that you think aren't paying attention, the babies and all that, because
the nursing babies who you're singing, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi.
Because they're listening, and he's bringing them
I knew.
He's bringing them, to this restorative place. And so you see this whole plan work out. So I thought that was really wonderful to be able to kind of get that whole picture. Because I must admit that when I began reading, I was like, man, that's kind of hard. God was like, yeah, you're already messed up. You're already messed up, whatever. And there's always that but, I have a plan. And so when I went to these other scriptures and I started reading, I said, there he comes up. There he
There
shows,
he is. There he is.
in spite of and because of my great love, here I am once again, and never again will you be ashamed, you know?
And my goal is to get you, I love it. The goal is to get them back to the garden.
That's the gist of everything
Everything.
we just read through the first 5 books. When we're ending off here, that's the gist of it. You know, what's the message of the Bible? What's the message, the redemptive message of the Bible? Is God's plan from the very beginning until the end is to get you back there.
Yes. I don't know why this dropped into me, and I know we have to go, but I just dropped into me is that when you're saying all that was that what grace was it for him to have had them stay in the wilderness for those 40 years? Because they needed to train up the next generation. Because if they had gone in right away, they weren't strong enough. The next gen, then the leader wasn't strong enough, and he already knows what they're thinking of doing, but even more so if they had gone straight in. And now they had to raise up the replacements.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Who knew that God who took care. So that's our job, guys. That's our job. Are we raising up our replacements in our ministries, in our homes, in our fellowships? Who's taking your place? Because I'm sorry, if Moses isn't the end all, you're not.
Hello.
Even Yeshua said, I'm going to send someone else I'm going to send someone else, even greater than I, who's going to empower you. So everyone
Yeah,
be blessed. This is going to be a beautiful week. Finish out these days of awe where you are in awe, where you're sitting in hands open. It doesn't have to be complicated. He knows your heart for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here it is. And
and
going into that. Hmm?
he wants it.
He wants it.
He
He
wants
wants
it.
to walk with you.
And you may be thinking whatever, he desires it. That's the desire of his heart. So don't be ashamed to just come forward.
Amen. Amen. Father, we thank you for this time. Thank you for your word that it's so alive that you put new things in it every year, that it just grows a new thing. We thank you that you are going into each heart of every woman or anyone listening to this at any time, and you're beginning to change, and you're being able to cut things away, and you're being able to prune and grow things and cultivate things in us. I thank you, Father, that you're showing us where we need to walk this out better. You're showing us how to prepare, even though when we know you know that we're going to mess up, that you've already prepared away from it, because your plans for us are not evil. Your plans are not for us to fail, but to succeed. Your plan has already been made for us, and you've already prepared the way. So thank you for that. Prepare our hearts as we go into Yom Kippur, Father, that we are reverent before you, that we have set our calendar of not working, of not eating, of being spending just with you, totally denying ourselves one day to just be in your presence. I thank you, Father, because I know there's ladies who will have just divine appointments with you, because that's your heart's desire, is to walk with us in the garden. Thank you for Rebecca, that you bless her. Thank you for that, Father. Bless her family. Thank you so much, Father, for every single lady that's here, and for this new year and another chance to practice this out until you come. Amen.
Amen.